What if I were to tell you that one of the most profound ways to rebuild strength in your legs comes not from a fitness center, nor from a bottle of supplements, but from your very own kitchen? Would you believe it? It may sound far-fetched, but this is not mere speculation. This is science, precise, observable, and deeply in sync with what many of us have long understood intuitively. The body may not respond to brute force, but it always listens to the correct signal. Not long ago, I encountered a study in the 2023 Journal of Clinical Nutrition, and its findings were both startling and incredibly affirming. Adults over the age of 50, after being given a specific type of nutrient-rich meal in the evening, displayed measurable progress in two critical areas by the following morning: muscle protein synthesis and mitochondrial function. Pause with me for a second and absorb the weight of that. In just 12 hours, not 12 weeks, the body initiated a process of rebuilding and recharging itself, not through exertion, but through nourishment. It happened quietly, naturally, and effectively. The mitochondria, which are the power generators inside our muscle cells, responded like a forest reawakening after a long winter. They fueled restoration, vitality, and strength. And this revival, most prominent in the legs, reveals something crucial. You see, the legs are often the first to whisper to us when a change is occurring. When our strength begins to fade, they don't shout, they speak softly. Stairs start to feel higher, our balance becomes less reliable, and walking demands more effort. But this isn't just about mobility, it's about something far more precious: our independence, our presence in the world, our confidence. All too often, we dismiss these shifts as an inevitable part of getting old. But I invite you to consider a different perspective. The decline in muscle isn't caused simply by age. Instead, it is the consequence of three subtle yet potent forces: chronic undernourishment at the cellular level, persistent low-grade inflammation, and a misalignment of our circadian rhythms. It is not the number of candles on your cake. It is your biology that tells the story. And if the body can become misaligned, it can certainly be guided back into harmony. That is why the what, the when, and the how of our nourishment are more critical now than ever before, especially if you have been feeling slower, weaker, or more fatigued than you once did. In our time together, I will lead you to an understanding of a single accessible food, a food that, when used with wisdom, can begin to reignite the vital connection between your nervous system and your muscles. You will learn how a particular nutrient profile, when taken in the evening, can support overnight neuromuscular repair. You will discover how this food helps restore mitochondrial efficiency, so your energy engines can fire correctly once more. You will see the function of amino acid signaling and how it activates muscle-building pathways, reawakening the strength that is already within you. And, perhaps most critically, you will learn the exact timing and method to apply this with a gentle, step-by-step practice you can start today. This is not exaggeration. It is not a miracle. It is biology aligned with wisdom. And once you learn to speak to your body in the right language, you will understand that recovery doesn't always require months. Sometimes it can begin in a single night. Let us walk this path together. When we discuss aging, most of us picture something irreversible: the slow, steady unraveling of our strength, the quiet fading of our abilities. But neuroscience is now presenting us with a new vision, one not of decline, but of potential that is waiting to be reawakened. Allow me to share something with you. You might believe that you have lost muscle and that your strength has departed for good. However, what science is now uncovering is a far more hopeful reality. The muscle may very well still be there. What has been lost is the connection. Researchers are finding that starting as early as our 40s, the motor neurons, those delicate wires that connect our brain and spinal cord to our muscles, particularly in the legs, begin to degrade. Their signal loses clarity, not suddenly, but subtly, year after year. What does this mean? The command that once shouted now merely whispers. The electrical instruction to move, to stand tall, to maintain balance becomes weaker. As a result, the muscle, still present, still capable, becomes dormant. It is not destroyed, just unengaged. A study from the University of Calgary brought this truth into sharp focus. Adults who were experiencing noticeable weakness in their legs were examined. What the researchers discovered was remarkable. The muscle tissue itself was largely undamaged. The potential remained. What had broken down was the communication between the nervous system and the muscle, and this changes everything. Have you ever stood up from a chair and felt a moment of unsteadiness? Not pain, not an injury, but a brief wobble that wasn't there before. That, my friend, is not simply age. It is a neuronal misfire, a fading signal. And crucially, it can be restored because the nervous system is not a static thing. It is alive, it is listening, and it is ready to reawaken when it receives the right input. Your spinal cord, that ancient silent pillar within you, is more than just a highway for messages. It is a living system that depends on consistent nourishment to maintain the clarity of its commands. When it's undernourished, its voice dims. When supported, it speaks with power once again. Picture this with me. Your leg muscles are like skilled craftspeople, but they are waiting for instructions from the foreman, your nervous system. If the megaphone the foreman uses has a weak battery, the workers will stand idle. Not because they have forgotten their skills, but because they cannot hear the call. Now imagine we recharge that battery. How? By providing the neuromuscular junction, that sacred meeting point where nerve and muscle connect, with the very nutrients it craves. Nutrients that restore voltage, clarity, and communication. And here is the quiet elegance of it all. It does not take months. Within a few hours, specific amino acids, B vitamins, and precursors to acetylcholine, a vital neurotransmitter for muscle activation, can begin to mend this lost conversation. The food I am speaking of contains more than protein. It provides specific compounds that rebuild this neural link. This means when you consume it, you aren't just feeding the muscle, you are reawakening it. So before we discuss gaining more muscle mass, let us ask the more profound question. Is your body truly utilizing the muscle you already possess? For many, the answer is no. In the case of leg weakness, it is often not a lack of muscle tissue holding you back, but the fading quality of the signal that controls it. That is why signal clarity can matter more than muscle size. Soon, we will delve deeper into one special amino acid, leucine, which serves as a molecular spark for this entire system. It is the initiator, the gentle knock on the door that tells your cells, wake up, it is time to grow strong again. But before we proceed, just pause. Let this new vision settle within you. If you have been thinking your strength is gone, what if it has only been silent? And what is silent can always be called back, with nourishment, with care, and with time. Let us continue. Each time I sit down for a meal, I am reminded of a truth that has been quietly passed down through generations. Food is not just fuel, it is information. More importantly, it is a message, one that our body is perpetually listening to. After we eat, there is a subtle window of opportunity. In that space, the body starts to search not for calories, but for signals, molecular whispers that instruct it on what to do next. Among these signals, one of the most potent is an amino acid named leucine. Leucine is what scientists refer to as an essential amino acid, meaning our bodies are incapable of producing it themselves. We must obtain it from what we eat, but its function extends far beyond simple nourishment. In the realm of cellular biology, leucine operates as an anabolic trigger, a switch, a direct command. It signals to the body, now is the time to grow, to repair, to return to strength. One of the key pathways that leucine activates is known as mTOR, an abbreviation for the mammalian target of rapamycin. You can envision mTOR as a sort of control tower, a biological gatekeeper that determines whether the body should initiate the process of rebuilding muscle tissue. And leucine is the finger that flips that internal switch. This is not just a theory, it is well documented. In 2011, a study published in the Journal of Nutrition demonstrated that even in older adults, whose muscles often become more resistant to these types of signals, a single meal rich in leucine could significantly stimulate muscle protein synthesis within a matter of hours. That is profound. You see, as we get older, the body doesn't cease to respond. It simply needs a clearer message, one that is more intentional and more consistent. Have you ever eaten a decent meal, perhaps with meat or eggs, and yet still felt your legs were weak or your energy was low afterward? That sensation might not be from a a lack of food, but rather from a lack of leucine, or poor timing of its consumption. Many older adults inadvertently consume just enough protein to maintain their current state, but not enough to trigger new growth. That is the critical difference: maintenance versus restoration. This is why both when you consume protein and the type you consume matter so immensely. So I propose a simple practice for you. Make your first significant meal of the day centered around a high leucine protein source. Think of this not merely as breakfast, but as a ceremony of reawakening, a morning ritual that tells your body, we are not in decline, we are in renewal. The best sources of leucine are found in nature: whole eggs, grass-fed beef, pasture-raised poultry, and especially whey protein, a concentrated form of nourishment from milk. Just 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein can provide approximately 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine, the minimum amount required to activate the mTOR switch and commence the muscle repair process. If you are seeking a faster, easier option, whey protein isolate is a clean and highly effective tool. It is no accident that athletes, physical therapists, and even doctors working with seniors are increasingly turning to this source, not as a mere supplement, but as a strategy for restoration. But to me, this is about more than just muscle. This is about reconnection between food and function, between body and intention, between who you once were and who you still are. Leucine doesn't just feed the body, it reminds the body that strength is still within its grasp. And sometimes all it requires is the right signal, sent at the right moment, for the journey to begin anew. After you consume a meal rich in leucine, something even more profound starts to unfold than just the rebuilding of muscle. What truly matters in that moment is not just growth, it's communication. There is a silent dialogue occurring within you, a biochemical conversation between your nervous system and your muscle fibers. When this conversation flows without interruption, the body responds not only with strength, but also with stability and presence. The sooner this dialogue is restored, the sooner your legs begin to feel grounded once more. Not just stronger, but truly alive. Now let us turn to a molecule that plays a pivotal role in this entire process. It is called acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that functions like a bridge between our thoughts and our movements. Every time you decide to stand up, take a step, or lift yourself from a chair, the signal originates in your brain. However, that signal cannot travel directly to your muscles. First, it has to be translated, and acetylcholine is the translator. It is the chemical messenger that carries your intention into physical action. Without an adequate supply of it, the message becomes distorted. The muscles hesitate. They might fire late, misfire, or fail to respond entirely. As the years go by, this becomes increasingly relevant. Scientific studies have demonstrated that both the production of acetylcholine and the sensitivity of its receptors can decline with time, particularly in the motor neurons that control the legs. This helps explain why minor slips in balance, slower steps, or a hesitation in motion become more frequent in later life. But herein lies the hope and the invitation to act. There is a nutrient that can replenish acetylcholine production swiftly and naturally. It is called choline, and it is the direct precursor your body utilizes to manufacture acetylcholine. In 2012, a scientific review published in the journal Nutrients revealed that an increase in dietary choline can restore acetylcholine levels within a mere 6 to 12 hours, especially during periods when the brain is actively coordinating movement. This means you do not need months to feel a change. You might start to notice a difference by tomorrow morning. So where can you find this powerful nutrient? The answer is simple: eggs. More specifically, egg yolks are one of the most concentrated and bioavailable sources of choline found in nature. Just 2 whole eggs can provide over 300 milligaules of choline, which is more than enough to support the body in rebuilding its neuromuscular signaling. This is not just nutritional advice, it is a functional protocol, one that is gentle, consistent, and deeply rooted in nature. If you have noticed tremors in your hands, a delay in your steps, or a feeling of instability when rising from a chair, your body may not be losing strength. It might simply be missing the signal. Here is a simple practice to help restore it. Within 30 minutes of waking, consume 2 whole eggs. This is the time of day when your acetylcholine levels are naturally at their lowest and when your neurons are most receptive. Pair these eggs with a leucine-rich protein source, such as whey, cottage cheese, or Greek yogurt. This combination sends a clear message to both your muscles and your nervous system. Wake up, reconnect, move with purpose. I once had a student, Margaret, who was 72 years old. She told me, "My legs just don't listen to me anymore." I invited her to try a simple practice: 2 whole eggs and a short walk every morning. On the 10th day, she paused at the temple gate, her eyes misty. "Today," she said, "I stepped down from my porch without holding the rail." That may seem like a small thing, but in her journey, it was liberation. You too may begin to notice, even after a few mornings of this practice, that your legs feel more responsive, that your steps are more certain, that your balance, once quietly faltering, begins to return to you. It happens not with force, but with clarity. You see, strength is not always about exertion. Often it is about the quality of the signal and restoring the sacred connection between thought and motion. When we provide our bodies with the right inputs at the right time, we don't need to force healing. We simply allow it to happen. Let this become your morning ritual, a quiet offering to your nervous system, a conversation with your own vitality. And with each day that passes, you may find that your body is not breaking down. It is listening and it is ready to respond. Why does this morning practice work so effectively? It is because after a night of rest, your body enters a state of quiet receptivity, a state where acetylcholine, the essential messenger that links thought and movement, is naturally at its lowest point. And yet, your motor neurons, the nerve fibers that command your muscles, are most receptive during this very hour. In this early stillness, the body pays closer attention. When you provide it with the right nourishment, the building blocks it requires to restore neuromuscular command, it responds with remarkable precision. Have you ever observed that after a high-protein breakfast, your steps feel more solid, your legs move with greater purpose, and a sense of confidence rises not just in your mind, but throughout your entire body? This is not just wishful thinking. This is your central nervous system firing with enhanced accuracy. You see, choline, the nutrient responsible for producing acetylcholine, does more than just support muscle function. It helps rebuild the bridge connecting your brain and your legs. It strengthens the clarity of the instruction, the bond between intention and motion. Now, if you follow a plant-based diet, or if eggs are not a part of your regular nourishment, you need not worry. While it is true that egg yolks are the most concentrated and bioavailable source of choline, meaning your body absorbs and utilizes them with great efficiency, other sources do exist. Quinoa, Brussels sprouts, and soybeans all offer meaningful amounts of choline, and with consistency, they can certainly support your needs. But let us go deeper. Acetylcholine is not just a molecule of motion, it is also a molecule of the mind. It is intrinsically involved in learning, memory, attention, and focus. Therefore, when you restore this neurotransmitter, you are not only bringing strength back to your legs, but also sharpening the clarity of your own thinking. This is one of the quiet truths of aging well. When the nervous system is properly nourished, both body and mind reap the benefits. Now, we turn to the next chapter of this practice, one that is frequently overlooked but is equally essential: circulation, blood flow. Even when the necessary nutrients are present, even when the signals are clear, nothing can move if the pathway is obstructed. Think of your body as a garden. You might have rich soil, the right seeds, and brilliant sunlight, but if the hose is kinked, if water cannot flow freely, nothing will flourish. This is precisely what often occurs in the legs as we grow older. The arteries and capillaries that supply our lower limbs can become narrower, less flexible, and slower to respond. This doesn't always feel dramatic. There might be no pain or swelling, but the subtle signs are there. A heavy sensation in the legs, delayed recovery after activity, or a fatigue that lingers even after rest. You may be eating well and moving regularly, but without healthy circulation, strength cannot settle where it is most needed. This is where a quiet, natural molecule comes into play: nitric oxide, or NO. It is produced by the lining of your blood vessels and acts as a messenger, telling them when to open and allow more oxygen and nutrients to flow through. It is nitric oxide that enables your legs to receive what they need, not just for strength, but for vitality. And it is nitric oxide that we will now explore more deeply. There is a particular food, humble, vibrant, and long cherished in traditional cultures, that naturally increases nitric oxide production. It has been studied not only for its effects on muscle performance, but also for its potential role in reversing vascular decline. We will uncover this next, because you are not here merely to learn, you are here to restore. And that restoration continues step by step, breath by breath. There is a quiet intelligence at work within the lining of your blood vessels. The endothelial cells there produce a natural gas, one that communicates with your blood vessels, instructing them on when to open and permit greater flow. This gas is nitric oxide. It is a humble molecule, yet its influence is profound. When nitric oxide is plentiful, blood vessels dilate, oxygen can reach deeper into tissues, nutrients arrive more swiftly, and waste products are removed more efficiently. As a result, your legs, which are often the first part of the body to exhibit fatigue or weakness, come back to life. Now, what fuels this vital process? The answer, as is often the case in life, is simple: food. More specifically, beets. Vibrant, earthy, and unassuming. Especially in their raw form or as juice, beets are exceptionally rich in dietary nitrates, which the body skillfully converts into nitric oxide. A study published in the 2015 Journal of Applied Physiology made this astonishingly clear. Older adults who drank beetroot juice experienced a significant increase in their leg muscle power within just a few hours. Not days, not weeks, hours. What is even more remarkable is that this improvement was particularly potent in the fast-twitch muscle fibers, the very ones responsible for quick movements, correcting our balance, and preventing falls. These are among the first fibers to weaken as we age, and yet here they were, responding rapidly to nourishment. These were not vague findings. In measurable movement tests, such as walking speed, chair stands, and stair climbing, the performance enhancements were undeniable. You might ask, how do I apply this? It is quite simple. About 90 minutes before any physical activity, consume 1 or 2 medium-sized beets, or drink 250 to 300 milliliters of beetroot juice. This provides enough time for the nitrates to be converted into nitric oxide and begin expanding your blood vessels. If you want to amplify the benefits even further, pair this with 20 minutes of light movement, such as a walk, gentle cycling, or dynamic stretching. You are, in a sense, priming the system. The dietary nitrates from the beetroot and the physical motion both stimulate nitric oxide release. It is like turning on the faucet and unkinking the hose at the exact same time. For those who are concerned about the natural sugars in beets, know this: their glycemic load is relatively low, and when they are consumed before activity, the performance benefits greatly outweigh the mild spike. If needed, you can balance the intake with a small serving of fiber-rich greens or a source of protein. And remember, this is not just about athletic performance. This is about feeling stable again, responsive, and alive in your own body. You see, the teachings of science are not separate from the teachings of life. They both pose the same fundamental question: what are you nourishing and when? In the next step of our journey, we will move inward to something less visible yet deeply impactful: inflammation. Unlike the acute inflammation that flares up after an injury, chronic inflammation is quiet and subtle. It simmers just below the surface, slowly eroding your strength without any obvious signs. It might manifest as general fatigue, slower recovery times, or legs that simply do not respond as they used to. You might think you are just getting older, but what you are truly experiencing is a kind of internal resistance. In a 2020 study published in the Journals of Gerontology, researchers discovered that higher levels of inflammatory markers, specifically C-reactive protein, CRP, and interleukin-6, IL-6, were directly linked to reduced muscle strength and mass in older adults. This held true even when participants had good nutrition and maintained regular activity. This tells us something crucial. Inflammation can override your best efforts. It weakens mitochondrial function, the very engines that power your muscles. It diminishes the ability of your nervous system to properly recruit muscle fibers. So even if the muscle is physically present, the signal is too faint. And this is where food once again becomes our medicine. In the next section, we will explore a group of foods, humble, green, and alive, that can help quench this internal fire, not by suppressing the body, but by supporting its natural rhythm. Because healing is not forceful, it is not rushed. It is a return to harmony. And we begin that return one mindful step at a time. So, what is happening within your body when inflammation begins to assert itself? It is a subtle process, not a fire that roars, but one that smolders quietly beneath the surface, gradually interfering with your body's innate rhythms. When inflammation becomes chronic, it interferes with your mitochondria, those tiny engines that power your muscles. These are not merely biological structures. They are your internal energy centers, responsible for fueling every contraction, every step, every lift of your leg. But under the weight of chronic stress, their function starts to decline. Inflammation disrupts muscle protein synthesis, it elevates oxidative stress, and it generates static in the communication between your nervous system and your muscle fibers. Even when the muscle is physically there, the signal to activate it grows faint. You might feel slower, weaker, and less balanced, yet this is not your fault, nor is it irreversible. Now, this is where the true surprise lies. The remedy is not found in a pharmacy. It does not come packaged as a supplement. It is not in the aisles labeled anti-aging. It is already waiting for you in your kitchen. Open your refrigerator's crisper drawer, and you may find one of the most potent tools for cooling this internal fire. Dark, leafy greens. Spinach, kale, arugula, Swiss chard, mustard greens. These are more than just a base for a salad or a simple garnish. They are medicine in leaf form. Within them are powerful compounds, polyphenols, chlorophyll, magnesium, and natural nitrates that assist your body in calming inflammation, regulating immune function, and restoring muscle communication. One particular polyphenol, quercetin, found abundantly in kale and mustard greens, has demonstrated the ability to block inflammatory cytokines like IL-6 and TNF-alpha, two of the primary agents in chronic inflammation. A 2019 study in Frontiers in Pharmacology revealed that daily consumption of quercetin-rich foods when combined with moderate exercise led to lower inflammation markers in just 2 to 4 weeks. I remember a student of mine, Luis, a 69-year-old retired gardener. When I mentioned leafy greens, he chuckled. "I've been eating greens my whole life. Nothing changes." But I asked him to make a shift, not in the amount, but in the timing. Every morning, 1 cup of kale sautéed in olive oil with a splash of lemon. After 10 days, he came back and said, "My legs don't feel sluggish anymore. It's like they've been awakened." Sometimes it is not what we feed the body, but when and how we offer it. This is not theory, this is application. By incorporating 1 cup of dark leafy greens into your first meal of the day, you begin to reset the rhythm of your immune response. Why the first meal? Because your body, much like the rising sun, adheres to a circadian rhythm. Hormones, metabolism, and even inflammation all follow this internal clock. Feeding your body with anti-inflammatory compounds in the morning helps to set a calming tone for the entire day. To boost the absorption of the fat-soluble nutrients these greens contain, such as vitamin K, lutein, and beta-carotene, pair them with a healthy fat, a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil, a slice of avocado, or even a soft-boiled egg. Add a squeeze of lemon juice or a splash of apple cider vinegar to improve digestion and nutrient uptake. These small, mindful actions multiply in their benefit over time. Now let's be clear, these greens will not deliver the quick jolt of a painkiller. This is not about numbing, this is about restoring. you may start to notice less discomfort, improved recovery, more balanced energy, and perhaps even a renewed sense of confidence in your legs. The effects are subtle at first, building steadily. Give it 10 to 14 days, and you may begin to feel a difference, not only in how you move, but in how you carry yourself. This is the moment when nutrition becomes more than just fuel. It becomes a signal, a message to your immune system. We are safe. You can relax. And when your body truly hears that message, it begins to lower its defenses and redirect its energy toward growth, healing, and movement. In the next chapter of our exploration, we will focus on something many people overlook: the timing of your meals. Because just as what you eat matters, so does when you eat. Especially as we age, our muscles can become less responsive to nutrition. This is a process known as anabolic resistance. But it is not an impenetrable wall. It is a threshold, one that can be crossed with care, strategy, and attention to time. You will soon discover that protein, when taken at the right moment, becomes not just nourishment, but an invitation to rebuild. So let us continue together with presence and intention, one step, one breath, one meal at a time. As we age, one of the subtle yet powerful changes that takes place inside our body is the weakening of the signal that instructs our muscles to grow and repair. You might still be consuming enough protein, but something else is occurring beneath the surface. That something is known as anabolic resistance, a natural process where our muscles become less responsive to the very nutrients designed to support them. This is not a defect in your body. It is simply a part of the aging process. Yet it is also something we can work with. Think of it like a radio. When the receiver grows less sensitive, the music hasn't stopped playing. The signal just needs to be tuned a bit more carefully. In this context, the signal is muscle protein synthesis, the biological process that enables us to maintain strength and rebuild tissue. And that tuning comes from how and when we nourish ourselves. A fascinating study from the University of Texas in 2014 discovered that older adults who distributed their protein intake evenly across 3 daily meals had 25% higher rates of muscle protein synthesis compared to those who consumed the majority of their protein at dinner. Imagine that. Simply by spreading your intake throughout the day, you amplify the very message that tells your body to rebuild and remain strong. Why does this work? Because every protein-rich meal transforms into its own distinct moment of activation. Your body responds with clarity and purpose rather than being overwhelmed all at once. Now let's translate this into practical terms, into your kitchen, your morning, your rhythm. Step 1, begin your day with a protein-forward breakfast. Aim for 30 grams of high-quality protein. That could be a cup of Greek yogurt with hemp seeds and blueberries, or 3 eggs alongside a handful of sautéed spinach and some lentils. This first meal establishes the tone for the day, sending a clear message to your body. We are building, we are repairing, we are strong. One of my students, Daniel, a former wrestling coach in his 60s, shared with me, "I eat plenty of meat for dinner, but I still feel weak in the mornings." I asked him to shift his protein to breakfast, to tell his body earlier in the day that it was safe to grow. 3 weeks later, he smiled and said, "I jogged to catch the bus today. It wasn't planned. My legs just moved." The body remembers. It only needs the right timing to respond. Step 2, move your body. It doesn't need to be intense. A walk, a light stretch, a few squats holding onto the back of a chair. Then, within 30 to 60 minutes after, have your second meal or snack. One that combines protein with complex carbohydrates. This could be a smoothie with protein powder and a banana, or a plate of quinoa with black beans and olive oil. Why the carbs? Because they trigger a gentle rise in insulin, not to spike blood sugar, but to help usher amino acids into your muscle cells, where they can begin their work of repair and renewal. Step 3. At dinner, resist the urge to overload your plate with protein. Yes, it is tempting to make dinner the largest meal, but research indicates that your body can only utilize about 30 to 40 grams of protein at one time for muscle synthesis. Anything beyond that is either stored or burned as energy. Instead, focus on balance, a moderate portion of protein, colorful vegetables, and healthy fats. When you follow this timing, when you nourish your body in alignment with its natural receptivity, you are not just feeding your muscles, you are speaking to them. You are sending a clear, consistent signal. Stay strong, stay active, stay alive. and that is the heart of this message. Muscle is not just tissue, it is a vital organ. It influences metabolism, regulates blood sugar, supports balance, and safeguards your independence. Let's bring everything together now, the entire journey we have undertaken. We have explored how nitric oxide supports blood flow and oxygenation to the legs, and how beetroot, especially in concentrated form, can restore circulation rapidly. We have looked at acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter that activates your muscles, and how eggs, specifically the yolks, can help reboot neuromuscular communication within hours. We have seen how inflammation can quietly undermine strength, and how leafy greens rich in quercetin can tame that hidden fire. And now, with meal timing, you have discovered how to keep your muscles in conversation with your body, not just growing, but thriving. This is not magic. This is biology practiced with awareness. When you begin to work with your body, not against it, transformation occurs faster and more fully than you might expect. To have come this far signifies something important. You have already begun. You now know that even within 12 hours, measurable gains in muscle signaling, strength, and energy are possible, not because of some external miracle, but because you chose to reconnect with the wisdom of your body, to listen, to act, and to nourish. Now take the next small step. One choice, one meal, one breath at a time. And you may find over time that the legs beneath you feel not just stronger, but steadier, more alive, and deeply your own once again. It's remarkable, isn't it? That something as simple and natural as food, rooted in the soil and grown in the sunlight, can lead to real, measurable increases in blood flow to your legs in just a matter of hours. This is not wishful thinking, it is physiology. The inner lining of your blood vessels, known as the endothelium, responds directly to what you nourish it with. When you consume foods rich in natural nitrates, antioxidants, and polyphenols, such as beetroot, you are not just eating, you are reawakening a communication system within you, a system that speaks in the language of pulses and flow, of oxygen and energy. And your legs, especially the fast-twitch fibers that help you walk steadily, climb stairs, or catch your balance, are listening. Yes, these muscle fibers do grow more sensitive with age, but herein lies the beauty. They also remain incredibly responsive if you provide them with the right signal. Nutrition is not only about digestion, it is a code. And your gut, that deep and mysterious second brain, decodes this message, sending signals to your muscles, to your nerves, to your very strength. Beetroot, in particular, influences this system not only through nitric oxide, but also by reshaping the microbiome that governs this inner conversation. Then there is timing, the quiet yet powerful companion of nourishment. When you time your meals to harmonize with movement, even light movement, your body sidesteps resistance and leans into growth. So here's your next step. It is not grand, it does not demand force. It is simple, clear, and powerful. Tomorrow morning, begin your day with a beetroot smoothie. Add a clean protein source, perhaps Greek yogurt or a plant-based option that resonates with you. Then take a walk for 15 minutes, not to chase a goal, but to awaken the flow. In that short span of time, you will have opened your blood vessels, triggered nitric oxide production, and reactivated neuromuscular signals that may have been silent for far too long. Within 30 to 60 minutes, follow this with a protein-rich breakfast. Think balance. Think intention, because what you are truly feeding is not just your muscles, but your capacity to move through the world with clarity and confidence. This is about more than strength. This is about momentum. Each morning you choose this practice, something shifts, not loudly, but deeply. You begin to feel steadier, your legs respond more swiftly, and perhaps most importantly, you begin to feel more like yourself again, not just existing, but living with presence. So give this a try, not as a challenge, but as an offering to your own vitality. I am here to guide you through knowledge, through practice, and through the small acts that restore your strength from within. Thank you for walking this path with me. May you move forward with lightness.